Hello. I'm here with Catherine Picot, and she's our French teacher here at Alamo Heights High School, whom I'm observing. And so let's get started with the interview. So my first question is, tell me a little bit about your background.
Well, I was born and raised in Paris, France, and moved to the United States. I was 21 years old. I lived in San Francisco for many years.
What brought you to Texas?
My husband's job, because we were in San Francisco when the big earthquake hit. And we thought that I was pregnant with our first child, and we thought that raising a child somewhere where the earth can move and things can collapse from one second to another was not very comfortable for us with a child. So we moved to Texas.
And then what got you into teaching?
I did my undergraduate at UTSA, and when they found out I was French, they asked me to tutor for the French program. At first, I was thinking about doing early childhood education, but then I started explaining, my culture and my language and go into it, and I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. So I became a French teacher.
Nice. And so then what brought you to Alamo Heights?
Well, actually, they were looking for a French teacher to start at the junior school, so part-time. And I just had my second child, and so I was not looking to be working full-time, and it just happened they gave me a call, and because they knew my name through someone else who knew me, and they asked me if I would be interested, and it was actually a perfect match.
Perfect. Okay, now I'm going to transition a little bit into what I've been observing, the engaged classroom. But first, tell us about the engaged classroom and more about your whole classroom environment, because I love the feeling when I walk in here from the music. So just tell me first about your environment and the way you make it, and then the engaged classroom part.
Okay, the environment, as far as I'm concerned, school was very painful for me when I was a teenager, and I always thought the first thing you see and you hear when you enter a classroom should be something pleasant. And so that's why I try to, every year I change the decoration. I try to put little trinkets here or there, little cartoons with humor. And this year I started also putting a nice peaceful image on the projector, and I have some background sound, whether it's birds chirping, or sometimes it's the ocean, it's the waves, and I don't know if it makes a difference for the students. It makes a difference for me, definitely.
Well,
so
when I was here observing, I noted that. I was like, this is so peaceful to come in the morning to this sound. That was one of my takeaways.
Yeah, good.
That I showed my professor.
Oh, good.
And so then
I'm
tell me
glad.
about the engaged classroom.
So the engaged classroom, do you want me to talk about the environment, or you want me to talk about the philosophy?
Both.
Both, okay. Well, again, I think the environment goes with, what I was talking about earlier. I think the more comfortable the students feel when they enter the classroom, the better they might do. I'm always at the door greeting them, because I think it's extremely important nowadays with their phones being attached to their nose that they actually have some kind of traditional interaction, human interaction. So I purposely stand at the door to greet them, and they never leave my room unless I'm at the door saying goodbye to them. That's a non-negotiable. As far as the rest, I do not have sitting assignment, because I really think that probably those students who are going to be sitting with their friends for better work, to do better work, are gonna find themselves and the others as well, and forcing them to sit somewhere is not gonna change anything, and I've seen it for a fact. I've tried to move some students who were kind of a little bit more challenging to a place, and they still talk across the room if you put them away from their friends. So no sitting arrangements, and I try also on a regular basis, like every grading period, I try to change the way the room looks, so they can, I think that helps also to kind of get them excited. And I don't like routines. I don't like things that come back over and over. So I kind of feel like maybe the students feel the same. If they have the same classroom environment all year long, it gets old. As far as the philosophy of engaged classroom, when I was part of the first batch of teachers who got involved with that, and the way I explains it is that, to me, engaged classroom philosophy is putting back education the way it should have always stayed, meaning focus on education as a whole, not just a subject that you teach, that it puts back the mastery or the leadership into the student hands instead of the teacher. The teacher is just a guide. And also, it's not so oriented towards grades and tests and be a good little soldier and learn everything for a test, and then you don't remember anything. So when I heard about engaged classroom and what it meant, I was just thrilled.
And so how does the technology piece play into?
The technology is really actually wonderful because it opens up to so much material and so many different ways you can actually do things. So it's like the skill, you don't have to be skilled in one thing, and then if you're not using that, then you're lost. It gives so much more freedom as far as how to use the material that I just love it. And plus, I mean, the information is just endless. I just almost like every week I find something new that I can do with students, and so it's wonderful.
So now I want to kind of talk about what I've been seeing and highlight those with some questions to for you. So I have one question. It's, why is collaboration a necessary skill for college and career readiness? I see in your classroom that you do a lot of collaboration, and it's tied to college and career readiness. So why do you think this is a necessary skill, collaboration?
Because it's almost like learning how to live together. Okay, I mean, to me, it's. I'm not saying love everybody or you're going to get along with everybody automatically, but you've got to learn how to live together. And part of collaborating on projects and things like that are just your basic skills, like when you look at children on the playground. It's good to play together, learn how to play together, learn how to work together. It's life.
And so how does it look in your classroom, collaboration? And if you wanted to extend that to the project that I observed that you guys are doing, so how does it look for you generally in your classroom?
First of all, I love to see several students focus on the same thing. I think it's like when they have a project such as the food, and they pick a country, I love to just see them discuss, oh yeah, and we could do this and we could do that, and here they are working on their little details together, and instead of being focused on their own work, they actually focus on not only a group work, but maybe paying more attention to others than just themselves. And as a philosophy of life, I think it's just the way to go.
Cool. And then, so the students were also doing presentations, and I saw a lot of autonomy in what they got to choose to do. So my next question is, why are presentation skills important for your students?
Because it's a life skill, okay? It's great to be able to accumulate knowledge, but if you can't share it with anybody, then you don't really know if you know. And so I think the fact that they present in groups kind of is a reassuring factor, so it doesn't put all the stress on just one person, and at the same time it's like teamwork, it's like being part of a soccer team, or
Yeah.
they did it. And the project that you observed, I think, was awesome, because not only it took them out of French in France,
Yeah.
and also the fact that they had to cook and prepare something. It calls on all kinds of skills,
Yeah.
and I can tell they really enjoyed that.
They did. And I mentioned this before, like the kids in your classroom had a lot of autonomy, had a lot of creative freedom. So how do you provide autonomy and choice within a project?
Because to me it's obvious, I'm not going to impose. I'm going to impose certain ways of doing certain format just because it's so much easier for me to grade, in the sense that to compare, you can, so I have certain rules. But as far as the presentation itself, they need that freedom. How can you enjoy doing a presentation if you haven't chosen the subject and how you're gonna do it? I mean, even I think as adult, we understand that perfectly. It's like I think you saw that group who was doing Madagascar.
Yeah.
They just got turned
Yeah,
on
they
by the
did.
fact that they're doing Madagascar because when they were little, they saw the movie. And I mean, it's just that connection made them so excited. Well, why not letting them, choose and enjoy?
Yeah.
So,
how do you provide, and this was a difficult question for me to form, but how do you provide an authentic audience for students' projects? More so, like, how do you bring in the realia of French-speaking countries and provide that authenticity?
I just first of all, every week we have a routine. Every Monday, unless we're working on a project or something, every Monday we watch the video. And it could be anything. It could be a cartoon, it could be a commercial, it could be a short documentary on a topic, and it's always real life. I mean, it could be there's a snowstorm in Quebec. Okay, we're going to watch that, and then they have a set of questions on to explain what it's about. And I mean, it could be like, one of my favorite is a guy who sings on the subway in Paris and makes the whole train, the whole wagon dance. It's awesome, and so it's always real life thing. I'm not very big on study, old literature, things like that. I think times have changed, and we need to change with the students. And the students, what do they want? They want things that they can see on their phone or on the internet, Some of them might like Victor Hugo or whatever, but in general, I think with the way those kids communicate nowadays, we need to adapt to them.
Cool. I like that quote. Times have changed, and we have to change with the students. That's really good.
Thank you.
I have two more points, but not really questions. Just kind of want you to talk about first feedback. I saw you walking around giving feedback individually in groups at the beginning of class, at the end of class, in the middle of class. I saw this a lot, and I kind of can you elaborate on like how you give feedback and why is that important?
Well, feedback is obviously important because, first of all, if you want to have a relationship with your student, you need to have that communication, that input, output, etc. And so I have different ways of doing that. I walk around a lot. I ask questions, as you saw. I also always, at the end of the 9 weeks, I sit down individually with each and every one of them and tell them where I see them at, and ask them if they agree. And it's like a little mini conference, and it's almost more than giving feedback. It's almost like, let's sit down and say, where do you think you're at? This is what I see. What do you think? Also, when it's purely grammar or vocabulary, same thing. Then I sit individually with that student and work the students to correct himself or herself, instead of me saying, put an S here because it's plural. Kind of like, what do you think about this? And so...
My next thing that I saw a lot of that ties into future ready skills, college ready skills, was communication. Now, obviously, we're in a language classroom, so they're communicating in French, and and then the additional collaboration when they communicate there. But can you talk a little bit about communication in your classroom in regards to preparing them to speak French? Or you can even give the example of the presentation and how communication plays a role in that.
To me, communicate. To be honest, I always tell my students, I treat them the way I treat my own children. So as far as communication, there's very little that I cannot hear, or there's very little that I will not tell. And I think they see that, and most of them enjoy that, in the sense that there's no BS, and I will tell them just the way it is, and it goes from telling them, oh, you silly, you forgot an S for the plural, to, hey, just don't talk to me like this, or, this is not very kind to, anything. It's really open, pretty much open communication, I think.
I appreciate it too, because I'm in your Google Classroom. I appreciate it when you were absent and you had sent an email and you're like, I'm sorry, kids, I really want to be there, but I can't. I'm sick.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was a clever, not a clever, but like a good means of communicating with the student even when you're not there.
Yeah, because it's all ties up to respect and to how to live together.
Yeah.
It's not because I'm the teacher that I can just disappear and then they don't know what's going on. I still, I'm still human, and I still want to be treating them the way I want to be treated.
Yeah.
So.
Well, as we wrap up here, thank you for everything.
Absolutely, I enjoyed
it. Do you have any questions for me?
I'm sure I have a lot of questions for you, but I haven't thought about it.
Or do you want to add anything else about?
Yes, I want to add something, because it's been my what inspired me all along, And when I first got hired at Alamo Heights at the junior school, there was a principal who, at the end of our meeting, he hugged me and he said, "You know, Catherine, just know that it's not so much how much French your students know when they leave your classroom that is important to me, is are they better human being?"
Oh.
And I was like, I'm going to get along with this guy.
Yeah.
I knew that the connection was there, and I never forgot that. I mean, I've been teaching almost 20 years now, and it always stayed with me that, you know, yeah, if they become fluent in French, but they are jerk, or they are unhappy, or they are, am I doing my job? No. So that's...
Oh, how sweet. That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
That's a beautiful ending note. Well, thank you.
You bet.
Thank you very much. Oh, I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Perfect.